and you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. Uh, yeah, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
It's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
This questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. A crazy week. No lead was safe, and some Pro Bowl rosters came out. And we are recording before the Jaguars and Jets game. Should be posted right before then. So we won't have, if you're listening after that, we recorded before it. So we don't have any opinions. We'll see what happens. And we'll start there. The Jaguars look very good. I think they're a better team than what their record shows. It seems that Lawrence is starting to figure it out, even though he still does have some bad plays. I know he had that fumble against the Cowboys late in the end, but he had another chance and he led his team to tying in a drive to tie the game, and then they won in overtime. We'll start there, Austin.
Yeah, and because of the Titans' recent struggles, the Jets and Jaguars game is basically a playoff game, meaning if you lose that game, you're probably out for either of those two teams. So the Jets got to avoid going 7-8. The Jaguars have to avoid losing again because they can't fall too far behind the Titans, which are the only reason they are even close to making it. But that's definitely a playoff game, and I've liked what I've seen from both teams. It's James Robinson gets to play against his old team, but I think Zonovan Knight's going to start at running back, and then Zach Wilson again starting this week because of a Mike White injury. So this, again, he's getting another chance to prove why he was such a highly rated pick.
Yeah, we will see how that turns out. And I was curious to see if the Jaguars were leading the division because the Titans have faltered lately. But the Jaguars are listed at second. But I believe they have the tiebreaker over the Titans because they beat the Titans. So if they're tied...
Well, the Titans, Jaguars, I think, play again. So.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And then Jets, I believe, are on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to the Lions, who are still in the playoff hunt, which is wild since they started 1-6, and now they're 500 at 7-7.
Yeah, I've been very impressed by how the Lions have been playing, and their resiliency through injuries and otherwise has been very, very admirable. But this is another must-win week. The Giants can clinch a playoff spot with either of the two teams that are right behind them losing. So that would be, or any of the three teams that are right behind them. So there are three teams behind them: Washington, Detroit, and Seattle. If any two of those teams lose and the Giants win, the Giants clinch.
That is possible. The Commanders play the Niners and the Seahawks play the Chiefs, and then the Lions play the Panthers, who are also still in the playoff hunt. So I'm pretty sure the Commanders lose to the Niners. Seahawks, maybe they beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been struggling lately.
Yeah.
With, or what are you going to add?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, they have been struggling. What were you saying now?
Yeah. And then the Lions face the Panthers. That one I think could go either way because the playoff hopes rely on both teams.
Yeah, and for a team like the Seahawks, who came into this year expecting nothing, to now have a Pro Bowl QB in Geno Smith, who has 26 touchdowns, only 8 picks, leads the league in completion percentage, is top 10 in passing yards. It's really crazy to see that, and I'm extremely happy about that selection. He deserved it. However, on the other side, AFC, Austin Eckler again missing. They just don't like him for some reason. oh, he's a running back who doesn't get many running yards or rushing yards. Sure, but he still has over 1,300 all-purpose yards between rushing and receiving, and leads the league in rushing plus receiving touchdowns again. I don't know what else he can do because that is his game. His job is not to run the ball every play. So for the running backs that do run the ball every play, they get a benefit of the doubt. I think the most surprising Pro Bowl nod was Tony Pollard, who doesn't even have 1,000 rushing yards right now. He does have a good sizable amount of receiving yards with like 300. Has like 900 rushing yards and has 12 combined touchdowns. Well, if he's going to get in with about 1,200 all-purpose yards and 12 touchdowns, then Austin Eckler should get in with 1,370 all-purpose yards and 14 touchdowns. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I was shocked that Tony Pollard made it. And Christian McCaffrey was left off. And then TJ Watt on the AFC side made it. And he's only played, I believe, 4 games this year.
I thought it was 5.
Okay, or 5
I'll
games.
check. I thought you have to do 7 games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has 4 sacks in 7 games and 2 picks, which is actually crazy for a defensive end basically to have 2 picks. But yeah, I don't think he should have made it.
And Nick Bolton was left off. I know he's an inside linebacker, but he's just had a great year with the Chiefs. And so I was shocked he was left off and TJ Watt made it in. Khalil Mack was surprising. It seems like he's been quiet this year, but just not what I was expecting. But I think they mostly...
Did Khalil Mack make it?
Yeah, Khalil Mack made it.
He only has 7 sacks. How did he make it?
Who else? See, let's...
I feel like this is why I think of the All-Star games, the least credible is the NFL. Because I feel like it's so name brand. Like, oh, were you good in the past? Here's an All-Star nod. That it makes it very difficult to enjoy. Because with the NBA, yes, they make some terrible decisions like Bradley Beal, who was averaging over 30 and missed the All-Star game, even though he had a better record than Trae Young, and that was just because the league was dying over Trae Young. But the NBA, there's normally multiple first-time All-Stars every year. So, and deserving ones at that. Now, there's controversies in every All-Star game. I don't like how the MLB does it where one person for each team makes it, but I just don't think these are the best players in the NFL.
Yeah, Khalil Mack was shocking and TJ Watt, but I'm not sure how it seems like the NFL is trying to change it. They did note now it's like a flag football game, and the Mannings are coaching, and I'm curious because Tua was leading the fan vote, but he did not make it. Which
it's a third fan vote, 1/3 coaches and 1/3 players.
Okay. Because the AFC quarterbacks are Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes. And I know Tua's had a great season.
Tua should not have made it over those 3.
Well, yeah, I agree. Like, he's had a great season, but...
Look, let me say this. There's a very high probability that one of those 3 is going to the Super Bowl, in which case Tua probably gets in. So, or Justin Herbert, but...
Yeah, there's just so many good AFC quarterbacks, so... It stinks for Tua. And then the NFC, I agree. Kirk Cousins has played well. And then Jalen Hurts has played well. And then Geno Smith has played well. So it's nothing I have against. So, yeah, there are always going to be some outliers. And hopefully they get better and learn from this year as they are experimenting with a new format.
Yeah.
Because you could put, like, Bradley Chubb didn't make it. Matt Milano didn't make it, even though he's a middle linebacker. I know Jalen Phillips has had a great year. I'm just looking at outside linebackers. Who do you think should be there instead of TJ Watt and Khalil Mack?
Um, that's honestly a good question. I haven't done enough research into it to tell you for sure. But those stats just aren't eye popping, and to see a Pro Bowler make it with 4 sacks or 7 sacks is not a good look, especially with how dominant they used to be. Both of those players, both some of the best defensive players of our generation. So seeing them with such poor stats making the Pro Bowl makes it seem disingenuous.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just looking at outside linebackers. Um, those are some of the things that I saw. But I'm interested in how the games look. We can talk about more about it when it gets closer, but it will be interesting because it definitely is at the point where people will definitely just not care about it anymore if it doesn't change for the better.
I totally agree. That's why I don't watch I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years.
Yeah,
I,
it's the
I
same
don't
thing.
find it enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, now we'll go back to regular season. Some teams have already clinched. You have four. You have 4 teams clinching a playoff spot, and it seems like the playoff picture is mostly set with seedings. It looks like the Eagles will win the number 1 seed. With the Cowboys' loss, they're mostly set at 5. Vikings and Niners could change 2 and 3, but that bye seems to be the Eagles unless Hurts is out for a longer period of time. Because I think it definitely helps the Cowboys' chances that Hurts will not be playing to win the game on Saturday. But there has to be a lot for a team to catch up to the Eagles and take that number 1 seed. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. A lot has to go right, and I don't necessarily know if it will. There's very small margin for error for every other team chasing them, which right now is only 2 teams: the Vikings and the Cowboys.
Yeah, and the Eagles have a pretty nice schedule after the Cowboys game, but I think it will still be fun and it will be interesting to see what happens. However, on the AFC side, there are only 2 teams clinching a playoff spot, and that's the Bills and Chiefs. And they're both tied at 11 and 3, so the 1 seed is still up for grabs. And a lot of teams cut it close last week. The Vikings played terrible first half, but then it was lucky that they were playing the Colts because the Colts and Matt Ryan. I just feel bad for Matt Ryan because
Well, Matt Ryan, it's not on Matt Ryan. People want to
Yeah.
say, oh, Matt Ryan's giving up the biggest leads. Yeah, to give up the biggest leads, you have to put up points. You should never lose a game where you put up 33 points. Ever. Ever. And that's the whole thing that one of the Cowboys cornerbacks, or safeties, I can't remember who said it, but there was somebody on the Cowboys that when everyone's blaming Dak for the reason why they lost the game on Sunday, he said, you shouldn't score 34 points and lose. And that's my entire thing about Matt Ryan's giving up the biggest lead in the NFC Championship, the Super Bowl, and the regular season now.
Yeah, I agree.
That
To me,
it's
yeah.
What are you saying?
Well, to me, it's just like he's been a part of all the teams that have blown leads, and I'm like, it's like I blame defense, and like all you had to do play calling, like Matt Ryan. I don't think did he throw a pick last game?
No. Unless it was really
It's
late. I don't think
yeah.
he did though.
Like I don't see it as his fault. I just feel bad. I'm like, you're a part of that team. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, dang, that stinks.
Comebacks are normally always on the defense, especially if they're over 20 points. Like if you allow 20 points and it's like the fourth quarter, what are we doing? Well, what is happening? Like we shouldn't have to score more points or do more stuff on offense. Like at that point, like the 49ers don't even give up 20 points in a game, and the Colts defense gave up over 20 points in a quarter.
Yeah. And but it was good that the Vikings pulled out. It's an ugly win, but it's a win, and it keeps them at the 2 seed and with home field advantage. And they clinched the division with that win. So, and then onto the Cowboys. Outside of like my emotional thing of not believing in them, if I take that away, this team can still go far in the playoffs if it was just like a normal team. The thing I'm starting to get nervous about is the pass rush because the past few weeks, I think they do not have many sacks as they did at the start of the year and when that defense was so dominant, which I think could be the cornerback issue because the Anthony Brown's hurt, Jordan Lewis is hurt, and Kelvin Joseph has not been working out. So I think the ball's able to get out quickly before the pass rush gets done. What do you think?
What do you think about this is a little bit of a tangent still on the pass rushing part of the Cowboys though. Micah Parsons picked up a fumble, and I'm sure you saw his tweet about how the NFL only protects QBs and I guess offensive players because the guy, after he totally had the ball in his hands, dove at his neck. I do feel like it is a very double-sided argument where the NFL wants to protect certain players, but they don't really care about the guys in the trenches at all.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I missed that play. I was listening to it on the radio, so I didn't see it. But I know there have been issues earlier on with the chip block, where he's just like completely blindsided by the block when he's rushing the passer.
Yeah, there's been a lot of dangerous plays, and there's not much you can do as a defender. And I don't feel like they show much respect to guys like Micah Parsons, who are really the only reason, again, why their team is where they are. Like, if you take
Yeah,
Micah Parsons off the Cowboys, are they a playoff team?
no, because then that like affects the entirety of the defense, in my opinion. Because to me, it frees up DeMarcus Lawrence, and then it frees up Dorrance Armstrong because everyone's focusing on Micah, and to me, Lawrence is a great player. To where if you're not focusing on Lawrence, he will cause trouble, and then Dorrance Armstrong is just able to play incredibly well because he's not focused on. Because if you're focusing on one important player and you have key contributors on the defense, they're able to excel. But if you take that guy out, then that to me alters the defense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I'm surprised that DeMarcus Lawrence made the Pro Bowl this year with only 6 sacks.
To me, DeMarcus Lawrence does more than just sack the quarterback. I think he's an incredible defensive run game stopper.
Mm.
So that's, I think he's had a productive year because of Parsons, but I love how, I'm not sure, I'm trying to look more into stats, but I'm not sure what stats show a great run stopper. Because,
Yeah, you could go tackles, but again, that's too circumstantial because you could tackle a quarterback, a bad, like you could just touch a guy down the field. It's really hard to see. Like you could tackle a running back at 1 yard past the line of scrimmage or 10 yards. So how do you know where he actually stopped the guy? Because that would determine whether or not he's actually a quality run stopper. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And then I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence is very now this point in his career. Obviously, earlier in his career, he didn't really need a secondary pass rusher with him because he was just ultra dominant for about 2 seasons, where he had like 10 sacks and 14 and a half. 14 and a half back in 2017, 2018, and 10 and a half. But I feel like now he has to be a sort of second fiddle because I don't think he can deal with double teams at this point in his career.
yeah, I think he doesn't handle double teams as well as like Parsons handles double teams.
Yeah.
And other great pass rushers. And I don't really blame Dak for the loss. I kind of blame play calling and
Time
the
management.
pick. Yeah, clock management. And yeah, the defense did what it needed to. And going for like the first down, I just would have run the ball and then they're out of timeouts. So that's an issue to me on the defensive side. And on the pick six, Dak hit Noah Brown in the numbers.
Yeah. That was not on Dak at all. That's why I hate that. What were you saying?
Well, there's an interesting stat. I'll pull it up. It's I don't know where this person found him. It's the Mina Kimes tweet. Did you see it? But I'll pull it
I did
up
not.
and then you can. I'll pull it up. But what were you gonna say?
What was I going to say? Um. Oh, that's why I hate interceptions as a stat because again, they're not circumstantial. Same thing with tackles. Like you could tackle a guy after a 50-yard run or after a stop and a tackle for loss. So interceptions like that counts as a pick six, an interception for Dak. And when you hear Dak threw an interception to lose him the game, yes, technically that's true, but he was not the reason the pick happened. It was who he should have thrown the ball to. Noah Brown was open. He hit him in the numbers. That is a quarterback's job, and he did it to perfection on that play.
Yeah.
To blame that on
Sounds
Dak
bad.
is disingenuous.
Yeah, Dak does have an interception problem. Well, it's very similar to what you brought up with Matthew Stafford last year.
Yeah.
He has like a pick for every game.
Yeah, and it's hard to win games like that, but that isn't one of the picks that I find issue with. Like those are him trying to make a good play, and I
Yeah.
cannot blame him for that. The ball should have been caught.
Yeah. And so I don't use that pick as a thing for that argument. But here's the stat. Amongst QBs with at least 200 attempts, Dak leads the NFL in tight window throw rate. Last year, he was 24th. So to me, that points to the wide receiver problem the Cowboys have.
Because there's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, Amari Cooper, who I think is a fantastic wide receiver. And then that, like we talked about with Parsons, to me, that opened up the offense for CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, who's coming off an ACL, and I think he's not back to himself yet. So to me, that's the wide receiver problem because Dak's a good quarterback, but I think he's in the Kirk Cousins territory. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Amari Cooper would have been huge for the Cowboys if they could have kept him. I really don't understand the trade at all. I think, stunted the growth as an offense, and I think again they have to rely on their defense, as we've seen the past couple or ever since really 2014 at least. Every great year for the Cowboys has either been a great offense or a great defense. They never really combined them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And it's annoying because they had a great offense last year. Defense was all right, and now it's flipped.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Amari Cooper trade doesn't really make sense. I think they were trying to do it to save cap room, but I think they could have done it just like pushing the money down, like push it down the line and go like, we'll figure it out later, move the cap hit and stuff. But they didn't decide to do that. But I think we can move on to like the AFC because the Bengals they might be the best AFC team right now.
That's so hard to say. There's so many good teams. Why would you say they are?
So the Chiefs to me are struggling, and I'm not sure if I'm going to trust them. Bills, to me, the Von Miller injury really hurts them defensively. And Josh Allen is incredible, but he struggled at the beginning of the second half against the Dolphins, but then he figured it out and was Josh Allen at the end for them to win the game. So I just think Joe Burrow is playing well, and this offense is hard to stop, and the defense does just enough. What do you think?
Is the O-line good enough?
No.
Then
But I'm just going to, yeah.
You think it's going to be a repeat of last year where it doesn't matter?
I think it could be the case where it's just like, hey, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, do your thing, and that will help them win. So it's very similar to last year.
Okay. I could see it. I would still say Chiefs. I think their experience, and yes, now the Bengals have experience, but still, it isn't to the level that the Chiefs have. And I just believe this Chiefs team is on a mission. And yes, they have struggled recently, but they still win those games. Unlike the Bills, who when they struggle normally lose. And I feel like the winter weather definitely helps them against the Dolphins with the snow at the end, because you don't really practice for that in Miami. And the Bengals O-line troubles are definitely still scary to me. But I would still go with Chiefs, but it's close.
Yeah, I think it's Bills, Chiefs, Bengals in that mix. Dolphins, to me, something's wrong with the offense, and they're still trying to figure it out. So that's why they're not in that upper tier for me.
That's understandable. I see why you think that. I mean, there's a ton of weapons. They just haven't figured out how to actualize their potential during the second half of the season.
Yeah. Because the other playoff teams are Titans, Ravens, Chargers, Dolphins. And these teams can be scary if they go on a run. It's just I'm not sure if I'm confident on them going on a run in the playoffs.
It depends on who they play. Because the matchup will definitely matter a lot. They're definitely a team I feel like that matches up good against good teams, or against some good teams, but also matches up horrible against some other teams.
Yeah, I agree. And then with the NFC, I'm really not sure what's going to happen.
The Seahawks running game has fallen off a cliff, and that's the reason why they've lost a couple of these games versus the Panthers and against other teams. Now, this is going to be a tough matchup against the Chiefs, and if they can get their running game going, I think they have a chance. But you can't put it all on Geno, and that's what really has been the past couple of games.
Yeah, and their defense isn't just good enough. I believe Kenneth Walker has had injury problems this year, right?
Yes, but it's basically bigger the fact that the O-line isn't really a running O-line. Their center, from what I heard, Austin Blythe, is not a good run blocker, and I feel like that's really hindered their ability to run the ball.
Yeah, and the Seahawks to me have great tackles. I'm not sure about that interior O-line.
I feel like that's the problem, is the interior.
Yeah, but I think they've done a great job getting the outside, and then they definitely have picks for next year where I think they can fill their weaknesses. We've already talked about it. I think you stay with cornerback, and you stick with Geno at quarterback, and then fill out other needs, like get a defensive lineman, get some interior linemen, and then if Geno regresses next year, or if Geno does just all right, then you're in the playoff, in my opinion.
Yeah, Geno does not have to be as good as he was this year for them to make the playoffs. He, again, was a top 3 QB in the NFC this year.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially with Dak injured.
Even the past couple games that Dak has played, I'd say Geno has been better.
I can see that. There's definitely an argument to me with top NFC QBs.
And it's really hard, though, because Jalen Hurts is such a good O-line. He's so versatile that I feel like it's really hard to knock him for anything he does. And he's also young.
And he's really done a great job of, I believe from what I've been listening, he's a much better passer now than he was last year.
He's a much more calm passer. He takes his time. I feel like last year he rushed. He was like, I got to get this ball out now. No, take a second and take the hit. Once you are a QB that isn't afraid of the hit, your abilities are magnified. That's why, I mean, we've seen so many QBs get blown up right after a great throw. They make a great throw and then get blown up. Like Herbert in a couple of his games. I've seen him make amazing throws and then get absolutely totaled. And I feel like that's what Jalen Hurts has learned, is that you have to take the hit sometimes.
Yeah, I think, and he was mostly a runner last year and then simple throws. And then this year he's just done better all around. His team has also gotten better in other areas. But I think that's something we could see maybe Justin Fields have a similar trajectory. Maybe not as great as the jump Hurts had, but to me, Justin Fields has been great running as a quarterback and being a threat on the ground. Now he can work on his passing in the pocket, and then he could maybe live up to what everyone thought he would be when the Bears drafted him.
The issue with that is that the fact that their O-line is not even remotely close to the Eagles. He doesn't have a wide receiver one or even a wide receiver too. He has a bunch of potential starting running wide receivers like Equinemius St. Brown and some other good wide receivers that are fine. They could be starters, low end starters in the NFL, but there is no AJ Brown or Devontae Smith. Cole Kmet's a good tight end. I don't. While he's not Dallas Goddard, he's fine. He's serviceable, but he doesn't have the pieces around him, and I feel like that's really a big part of the growth of a young QB is the assets around him, and so that he can get acclimated to the offense and to the NFL much quicker than other young QBs.
Yeah, I see that. And I think they will be able to fix some of that with the draft and then maybe through free agency or through during the offseason where they can make a trade or get or sign someone. So we'll have to see how that happens. But there's some good games this week. I think Cowboys and Eagles is still going to be good, even though it would just be better if it was Hurts if they were both at full strength.
Yeah, I think so. However, if the Cowboys play like they did against the Jaguars, I feel like if they had hurt, it'd almost be a blowout. But again, it is a rivalry game, and anything can happen.
Yeah, to me, the Cowboys, it really depends who shows up because they can be great one week and then struggle the next week. Then you also have Seahawks and Chiefs will be good. Lions, and then Broncos Rams may actually be pretty good with Christmas Day because you have Mayfield. Make it seems they're just better, and then you also have Dolphins and Packers, which should be very fun.
Yeah, because the Packers are still in a playoff hunt because of how, like, Washington's playing the 49ers, the Seahawks are playing the Chiefs, the Lions are playing a team that's also trying to make the playoffs. Like, if the Packers can start winning some games and finish at 9-8, they may get very close or in a playoff spot if they finish 9-8. Now, obviously, that's worlds away, and they still have some tough matchups upcoming, but there's still some hope there. So the Dolphins Packers game should be a good one. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we'll end it there. Thank you for listening to NFL Opinions, and make sure to check all our other videos. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.